Hello, everybody. This is Andina. I'm here with Andrea. And we just had an amazing workshop. It was number third, talking about psychological safety. We keep talking about psychological safety because it's absolutely important. And I think it's very misunderstood, um, mostly by the way the courses are delivered, because it's a feeling that you have. It's not necessarily somebody talking you and showing you some slide what it means if you don't feel it. And I think it's very important to think first, how do you feel safe within yourself? And then the company, the organization, the environment where you are, how safe it feels for you to talk. Because we all know what's happening when you don't feel safe. People are disengaged. They don't talk. Ideas are not coming. There is no innovation. And at one point, you start saying, I don't care, because if I say something, this and this will happen. So it was an amazing workshop. We gave some really great tools for people, and it's also we talk about some examples that we lived through. Like, for example, my team and how long it took me to say that I was in a burnout to my team because of all the things that they were going through my head, that are going to blame me, or they're going to say I'm not competent enough and it was my fault. So I wasn't feeling safe enough to say what happened to me. It took me around 1 year to be able to say to my team what actually happened, why I wasn't working for 4 months. So I'm wondering if this is something that's happening in your organization for you, because we're here to help and we have a lot of tools and practices to give on that. Andrea?
We had a very rich discussion, so the participants brought their own experience to the table. We talked about how fear affects performance and productivity, how important it is to build relationships, how important leadership is, because that creates that extra layer of trust to be comfortable speaking, how important listening is, and emotional awareness, especially in leaders, which can be managers or informal leaders, um, creating that openness and that listening space, non-judgment, and an atmosphere where mistakes are considered learning, not something to be punished. We also talked about multicultural environments. This is something we have a lot of experience in because both me and Adina worked for years in shared services in international hubs where we dealt with a lot of cultural misunderstanding and how important it is to have that almost extra layer of translation sometimes, and how many misunderstandings can happen just because people don't listen and they come from their own experience and they take things for granted. So, in this kind of environment, it is imperative um, someone, leadership, HR, um, takes a note and create that space for people to come together and say, you know what, this is what why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is my experience so far. Is it the same here? Does it apply? Because when people start opening up and they start explaining why they're doing the things they're doing, um, it creates connection and it brings psychological safety. What else did we discuss? About the differences between men and women in a workplace, about aging and the challenge it brings, menopause in women, different experience gaps in men. We also shared about somatic work and how important it is to release stress from the body without words, because more than old emotions and experiences, we accumulate stress daily. And it is important to have a tool that discharges that from the body because it creates space and it opens up. We did a short somatic exercise where the participants found out how important it is, the body position, how important it is to relax, and how tight you are without even knowing. And that tightness, guess what? Brings tightness in the mind as well and brings closeness. So when you open up your body, but you also open up your mind. and you have different conversations from that place. I really liked the workshop today, and we asked some very important questions. What is safety to you personally? And whose responsibility it is to create that safety? Because it's so easy to blame others. Whose responsibility is to create safety in the company? Who bears that? How do we communicate? What tools do people have to separate work life from personal life? And we played around with these questions and we got some interesting answers. Um, wow, I really, really loved our conversation today. What else did we do?
We talked about how different organizations are actually applying psychological safety. If they are, that's another thing, because one of the things that surprised me is in some companies, people don't actually do one-to-one manager. So it's like, okay, so what's happening with these people that nobody's hearing them? You, from my experience, if you as a manager, you never talk in an individual one-to-one with your team member, how do you know what's happening to them? And then on the opposite side, we heard about people who are actually knowing everybody in the company, like you have 100 people by name, by the kids they have, what they do in their, by their hobbies, what they do in their free time. And that created such a different environment. Because think about it, once you talk regularly with somebody in the team, you kind of know when he's in a good mood, when he's in a bad mood, and when something is happening. And what's happening there? You prevent whatever um, misunderstanding or whatever burnout can come or whatever sickness, because you help that person, if you are equipped uh, with the tools that they need, or you direct him into the specialist or the department that can help them with that. It's so important. But when you never have one-to-one with them, how would you know the signs? And how would they know the signs to you when you're obsessed as a manager, when you're stressed? That's one of the things I was doing with my team. They knew how I look stressed. I knew how they look because we talked about it. It's not only knowing by experience, but I was meeting them regularly. Uh, my door was always open, which is very strange to say because it was an open office. So they just walked to me. But we kind of knew how to negotiate when they are having their stress. I knew what to do when I was under a lot of pressure, when to approach me, because you don't want in a workplace to create this environment when people don't know when to talk and they are afraid and what. And we all have bad days. And I think it's important to start from a place of being vulnerable. But then what does it mean for you to be vulnerable? What do you think you're losing if you're vulnerable? We will let you with that question because vulnerability, trust, psychological safety are all so tied up. And at the end, everybody wants to feel good at work. Everybody wants to be in an environment where they feel good. Nobody wants to go to a job where they feel like shit or not seen or not understood and that nobody cares about me. And sadly, we live in a world where the Samaritan for the suicidal line, they get 600 calls per hour. Imagine how many people are like that. So, what is psychological safety for you? Feel free to comment or feel free to contact us because we love to talk into more details and to offer tools and practices to people to help themselves first and then the rest, the others. Thank you.